Okay, this is gonna be a very unpopular opinion, but to me, this is the best Toy Story movie ever. Hello, beautiful people. I'm here to talk about Toy Story 2 coming out in 1999, and I grew up with this movie. This is one of the first VHS I ever owned when that was a thing. This came out in 1999, the exact same year I was born. And for me, this one always had my favorite story out of all of the Toy Story films. And what I love about sequels like this is that they expand on the characters and give you more of what we already love about them, and then just expand on that. And then they introduce you new characters that were, again, awesome. So, Toy Story 2 is groundbreaking for me. First of all, the animation was fixed, it looks a lot better, and I was just beyond thrilled with the story and everything. Also, they put in a lot of detail because if you remember in Toy Story 1, they reference Al's Toy Barn, and here it comes back. We even have references to Pixar shorts. Gerald's in this movie from Gerald's Game. If you guys remember that infamous short of a guy playing checkers, it was very amazing to see like the amount of detail that they put in this movie. And this movie wasn't even supposed to come out in theaters. It was gonna go straight to DVD and VHS. But they saw this movie and they were thrilled and they said, "Yeah, we gotta keep doing this." So this movie basically is they were Andy is going to go camping, but in the process before he goes camping, he plays with his toys and Woody unfortunately gets his arm ripped and then he is placed up on a shelf where is infamous for being the forgotten toys, the ones that no one plays with anymore. And in the process he meets Wheezy, who has been up there for so long and no one plays with Wheezy anymore. But when there's a yard sale going on, they take Wheezy. Woody says, "Absolutely not. I'm gonna go try to save him in the middle of the yard sale." And in the process, he gets caught by Al, the owner of Al's Toy Barn. He steals Woody, and we were wondering, why is he stealing Woody? Like, what is so great about Woody? And then turns out that Woody has been this big time exclusive toy. He even has his own TV show. He even has a bunch of sidekicks from Bullseye, Stinky Pete, and Jesse, who I'm excited to talk about in this movie. And then it's up to the rest of the toys to go out and save him. They spot that he is the guy who stole him was Al, from Al's Toy Barn and the chicken suit. So they go to Al's toy shop and try to rescue him. Turns out he's not there, but he is pretty close by. It's actually funny that Al's house is right next to Al's Toy Barn. It was actually a really funny. A lot of times you're just like, oh, Woody's basically locked in a house for most of this movie. What makes it so great? Well, you get to learn a lot from these characters, and this is what makes you fall in love with these characters because these guys are gonna be great. Finally, the whole gang is back. They're gonna be living forever in Japan. They're gonna be these exclusive toys. They're gonna be back on the market, and they'll basically be toy celebrities essentially. And Woody just wants to go back to Andy, and Jessie is furious because she has been abandoned before. She has this very tragic backstory. When She Loved Me is one of the most tear jerking scenes ever for a kids movie. I was crying as a kid watching it, and it still gets me watching it as an adult. In this movie, we even get a second Buzz, and basically, our Buzz Lightyear gets to see a version of the Buzz Lightyear that we saw in the first film, which was actually kind of funny. And then eventually, this leads to a bunch of other stuff. We get Barbie references. Side note, I totally forgot to talk about this. At one point, Zurg comes back and goes after Buzz Lightyear. Then we find the infamous moment of Zurg being actually Buzz's father, which was a callback to Star Wars, of course. When we get to Lightyear, I got some bad things to say about that. Part that always got me was Stinky Pete telling Woody, like, "Fine, you can go, but at the end of the day, Andy's gonna grow up, he's gonna go to college, and he's just gonna leave you. If you stay with us, we'll be great together forever. And there's like a valid point in all of this. Woody decides to stay, but then he sees the TV, a little boy that looks like Andy hug Woody, and he sees like the importance of what he is to Andy. Decides to leave, but also take the crew with him. But Stinky Pete has had enough of those shenanigans. Turns out he is the villain. He's the one who turned on the TV to wake up Al so he wouldn't leave. So Stinky Pete was actually a really solid villain, and I actually really enjoyed it. And he has a good reasoning for why he wants to be bad, because he is tired of waiting forever, and he wants to be great. He wants to be grand, and you know Woody doesn't let him. But so you kind of see both sides of why it's important that Woody goes back to Andy, because it's his kid, and he at least wants to see him grow up. That airport scene where they're all fighting, um, Stinky Pete, after that hard work of that whole montage of fixing Woody's arm, it just breaks easily. It always gets me, even though it wasn't supposed to. Eventually, Stinky Pete gets his comeuppance at the airport during the baggage, and he gets stuck with a little girl who has a huge amount of stickers on the Barbie doll, so that was actually kind of funny. The rescue scene with Jessie was great. Jessie, hands down, is one of my favorite characters in animation. Her backstory, her energy was there, and it all goes to Mary Kay Bergman, who unfortunately passed away earlier in the year that this movie came out. Eventually, Joanne Cusack took over the role, but man, she did such a great performance in this. Voice acting isn't easy. A lot of people say, "Oh, just read your lines and go with it," but no. Mary Kay Bergman brought Jessie to life. Like, people love her because of it. The writing was great. The finale where Andy comes back from camp and he sees some of his new toys, a fixed Woody. Everything's going good, and then we end with a singing montage, and I'm just like, oh, okay, another singing montage. But there's this beautiful scene, which could have wrapped up the entire series, but it kept going, and we got 3 and 4. Um, when it's Woody and Buzz just watching Andy walk by, and then he's like, yeah, well, Andy's gonna grow up eventually. So what do we do then? Well, we'll be together to infinity and beyond. So we'll get there, and eventually we do it. Toy Story 3, but I do love that they put in a lot of energy with this movie. I love the writing for this. John Lasseter, he just did great work with this. The voice acting again was great with Tim Allen and Tom Hanks. I just love this movie, man. It's just too perfect. It's the animation got fixed, the writing was better, it evolved the characters, it brought us new characters. So I can't say anything except A plus. It's an amazing movie that you gotta go out of your way and watch. I mean, come on, just if you haven't seen it, where have you been? But anyways, we're gonna wrap up things and we're gonna move on to Monsters Incorporated. I'll see you guys all next Wednesday. And yeah, take care, everybody.